Welcome back. Yes, you were desperate to say something. Yeah.
I think at some point we have our wires crossed because we're on the same page as you in terms of children using cannabis. We do not think children below the age of 18 should be using cannabis.
And how are you going to prevent that?
We advise against that. But our contention is that regulating it from a legislative point of view, from a criminal point of view, doesn't work. And that's why I wanted to put the question to you. Accepting the fact that year on year cannabis consumption has increased and is increasing even with the law, and that teenagers are continuing to use, what do you propose we do with those recreational users who continue to use even after you make way for medical marijuana only? What do you propose?
You see, Dennis, I cannot accept the term recreation. For me, recreation is playing a game
Call it
of
whatever
squash.
you like, but I think the question remains.
It's using a substance to get on a high. It's like giving somebody something like bathing.
Fair enough, but I don't have time to debate the hermeneutics. What I really
also want to correct
no, but the question is an important one. What do you do in relation to, let's put it this way, non-medical use of the drug? Which is what he's really asking.
I think we need to send out a clear message that marijuana is not a good, it's a addicting substance, period. And it's got dangerous side effects. I've seen children, I've seen adults end up with psychosis,
if you were in Dr. Ambrosini's
schizophrenia.
position and you were in the legislature, what would you now do?
For medical reasons, we would have it for specific indications, but not recreational use. There's a difference. We need to make that distinction.
And you criminalize, or what do you do with them? Put them in a diversion program? What are you going to do with
people
them?
who are using recreation, first of all, we need to get out the message clearly that marijuana is addicting. It's got side effects. And I can list the dangers of marijuana, which I think I should.
So but I haven't got time at that stage. All I, at this stage, want to ask you is what would you do? Are you going to continue the criminalization process? That's
No, it should be decriminalized, but it should not be made legal.
Okay.
Now, if you use it for medical reasons, it has to be justified. You cannot get an able-bodied person say, I've got cancer, doctor, can you give me a hit of cannabis?
So do you propose that we continue to arrest people who are getting high?
I'm not saying that.
So what are you saying?
Okay, so Dr.
If he gets high,
I'm sorry. I want
Dennis,
to give Dr.
would you
no,
like
I
to
want
go,
to give Dr.
He wants to get on a high and ride the plane that you're going to go to Johannesburg
Well,
with.
I'm not sure.
That is something we need to talk about. It's not okay to be high on a drug.
It's for you to...
Criminalization must be...
Sorry, hang on a moment. I've asked him now, yes?
Criminalization must be substituted with regulation, education, and rehabilitation.
What kind of regulation are we referring to?
The same regulation as we are dealing with similar substances such as alcohol and tobacco, which are much more dangerous in terms of statistics. Hundreds of thousands of people die of alcohol and tobacco, and nobody has died of marijuana per yet. And the prohibitionism we now have places our children in harm's way because drug dealers don't ask for ID. And they use children to sell DACA to other children. And if we want to stop that, we must regulate, take it away from the drug dealers, eliminate the entire phenomenon of criminality, which comes with the prohibitionism, and treat DACA, marijuana, on the same basis as we treat heavy alcohol.
Well, but can I just ask you this? Dr. Rapiti has consistently said that, in fact, it does create trigger effects in relation to other drugs, entry into other drugs. It is a major problem, he suggests. Can we take the risk, given the phenomenon now?
The evidence I've seen suggests that that is not the case. But even conceding to the possibility, surely alcohol has the same addictive features and characteristics. And that's how we deal with alcohol, not through prohibitionism. And that's why I said we need to have regulation, education, and rehabilitation. Getting people out of a vice. But you don't deal with a social vice through jails. You deal through humanitarian approach of educating and rehabilitating.
Got you, yes. And then I'm going to come to Matthew. Yes, briefly.
I was going to say, I disagree about the point that marijuana doesn't kill, because nobody's done any studies. There is enough studies that shows that if you inhale marijuana, the carcinogens in that smoke is 5 times more than cigarette smoking. But nobody would ask you...
What about alcohol?
You see, 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Yes,
I'm not agreeing that alcohol is right, therefore you must allow cannabis. You know, if alcohol was discovered today, Dennis, we'd have banned it. And I can tell you, if marijuana
But it
is
wouldn't
legalized,
succeed. They've tried that before
the
with
bottom line.
prohibition.
Sorry, you interrupt, and I'm getting my train of thought lost here. If cannabis is legalized as a medical product, it would be a Schedule 6 or a Schedule 7, so which means you cannot get it willy-nilly. At the moment in America, because it's not categorized as a medicine, it's regarded as a Schedule 1, and that's really absolute rubbish. What is Schedule 1?
Got you.
Dennis, let me
So let me
right
ask
there.
you this. No, I want to ask you a question. You're keen on asking questions. Let me put one to you. What I understand from the doctor, this doctor,
Yes.
that doctor, is this. He's saying the evidence does not compellingly, on any basis, suggest that one could take a risk with the substance. And given the magnitude of the drug problem in South Africa, it's a hugely risky thing to start just saying, all right, you can take it
now, the South African...
without clear evidence. That's what
group,
he's saying.
Our group, absolutely, there is a correlation between cannabis use and harder drugs. And that correlation exists precisely because of the prohibition. But correlation
Explain that to me.
I'll get there. Correlation is not the same
no?
thing as causation.
Yes, but
Owning a motorcycle is a very common feature amongst motorcycle gang members. But owning a bike does not cause one to become a gang member. In the same way that taking cannabis does not cause one to move on to harder drugs.
So what's the correlation?
There is a pre-existing condition. If one is going to get high, generally speaking, people get high on a number of different things. It's a compulsion.
And
Sorry.
so, yes, Karen?
Dennis, I disagree with that vehemently because I've done it for 5 years and because I knew this lobby keeps saying that there's no evidence for gateway drug. And I've asked every child that comes there, what happened after you used your cannabis? I didn't like it. I wanted something higher.
But you do accept
And let me
that you
explain to you
haven't any evidence either. All you're saying is, I've got some of my own anecdotal evidence.
And that's anecdotal. Unfortunately, that's how medicine works. It's anecdotal. You go and ask them, go and do the
Yes,
research.
I've noticed that with diets.
I put the challenge. No, I put the challenge. I mean, I've seen over 10,000 people, and all of them are on cannabis, tick, and mandrax. Now, let me explain to you why children are so vulnerable to going into something like tick. Because cannabis is a slow-down drug. Ask my friend on the right there how nice and cool and easy it makes you
But
feel like a
he's
yama.
not saying
But-
children should get it. That he
Sure,
didn't
but
say
the
that.
point
Okay,
is,
can I-
if you,
Yes, you
do you
can.
make it legalized for adults,
All
you
right,
don't make
okay.
it legalized
Yes,
for children.
Yes, sorry, I'm
It
running
is a
out of time.
dangerous
I've
drug.
got your point.
As
Yes.
with alcohol, the choice is not between having or not having recreational use of marijuana. The choice is between having legal recreational use of marijuana or criminalize use of recreational use of marijuana. And the cost of having the criminalized use of marijuana, it's way too high. The human cost, the social cost.
See, I think-
Prohibitionism does not work. And at the end, it's a matter of being practical. We are going to have the same amount of people taking marijuana, and whether or not it's a gateway, and all the evidence I've read about, and I'm no expert, suggests that it's not. But even conceding that evidence is wrong, we need to address that evidence by regulating, eliminating the criminal phenomena, the pushers. And the same way with alcohol, we eliminate advertising, we eliminate the drug dealers next to the schools, and then we put money, instead of the war on drugs, on rehabilitation, education, and we reach out for people, and we reserve the law enforcement capacity for the hard drugs, and we go straight to the core of there where it hurts, the drugs which are killing people. And whether or not something kills is quite simple to find out. All one is to look at
I'm running out of
death
time.
certificates.
Yes, yes.
If I may just say, as a doctor, and I'm no doctor myself, but I think it is
We've only got one
shocking.
doctor,
It
he's
is
a ghost.
absolutely shocking that you are not even aware of the fact that the current legislature already identifies a particular component of the cannabis plant, and it is already scheduled at Schedule 6 and Schedule 7, depending on whether it is for therapeutic value. Did you know that?
No, I was not aware of it.
Okay.
All right, okay. But the fact of the matter is, people will have to deal with that themselves because I've run out of time. It's interesting, if I listen to this debate, I think there's some consensus here, despite all the light and heat, that when it comes to the question of medical use,
Yes.
there is a unanimity here. In other words, there's a support for the good Dr. Ambrosini's bill, which President Zuma says the government will consider. And clearly, the link here is that that should happen. When it comes beyond medical, there is clearly a divide. What do we do Do we continue with the criminalization, put more and more people into prison, or do we find other ways of dealing with this, or do we decriminalize? Do we simply allow that marijuana to be treated in the same way as alcohol? What do we then do, given our drug problem, with the particular issue that we've been canvassing? You've heard quite a lot of different attitudes to this and ideas. Judge for yourself. Goodbye.
News that moves. ENCA.com.